Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, I think it's around, you answered some of it, which was around kind of cross-function collaboration. I think, um, what would you say is the most critical job of, you know, someone who again, or I guess what have you seen as the most critical challenge of someone who's like, again, been like a founder of an early stage, company and has stayed in that seat for a long time. A lot of folks, leave at the Series A or Series B, right? What does it take to kind of grow with the company? Because going back to slopes, what I've found, and whether it's the CEO or even the head of some other department, when the company is growing this way, humans only have some.
Right.
There's a capacity at which level they can grow and adapt, right? And sometimes that doesn't match. So how have you seen, that addressed done well? How have you seen it when maybe a head of a division is not getting there? How you can support them and or approach that.
Wow, there's a lot in there. There's a lot in that question.
Yeah,
Now, let,
yeah.
let me start with this. I think the number one thing to be a leader, you have to really have a passion for learning. If you're not willing to learn, you're not willing to change. If you're not willing to change, you're not really going to grow. And either is the organization. So, especially if the organization's growing and you're not, that's the problem. But as a CEO founder, I think you have to really learn and focus on mastering like the art of scaling and how do we
Mhm,
scale. A lot
mhm,
of founders early stage they see their job as creating a product when they're really building an organization.
mhm,
And, that
mhm,
role is corporate capital development or however you want to define what that is. Typically, the companies I'm working with, their job is to raise money and build the organization, right? So
mhm,
I think you have to really understand what it is to scale and how to scale a team of teams. So kind of going back to that, in the first 20 employees, you can probably manage pretty much everybody or co-manage them. Once you get beyond that, now you have a team of teams. You really need to employ some sort of system, one to create alignment that we all agree where we're going, and then to define that focus. And I think that's where the challenge comes in is like they define some focus or they mandate focus without leveraging the team. But there's no alignment. And so it's really hard for them to make sure they have the right people on the team, make sure that things are getting
mhm,
done, and
mhm,
so alignment needs to come first. We need to agree where we're going to go first, which like when we talk about that 3, 1 and 90, like that's
mhm.
creating those focal points of alignment. And then knowing that that's your path as a CEO, then you can say, do I have the right people to reach that goal that
To
we're
do that.
talking about, right?
Mhm,
And some of these people might be a great fit. They might not be a culture fit. That doesn't work, right? They have to be a culture
mhm,
fit. They have the right, skills and experience. And then can we up level them or are they not the right person or can we put this person somewhere else? So I think really being kind of honest with them and with the organization where you're going, if they're the right fit, if they have the right stuff, if they're learners, right?
mhm.
I think that's the other thing. And that's really mapping. Do you have the right people? When I come into organization, I think that usually takes about a year sometimes to really make sure that we
Yeah.
have like the right people. And then once we really have the right people, then it's executing. So I think um good to great said, get the right people on the bus, and then
Yeah.
then you start driving. I think the reality in the
Mm,
early stages, get the right people on the bus, but then as you scale, you have to keep on re-examining, do we have to
mm,
drop some people off and pick some new ones up
mhm,
to go
mhm.
where we wanna
Yeah,
go? You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things. Now as a leader in any organization, even a functional area, I think it's the same thing. Like, you need to define and I like to do this functionally. So, like, 3 years and 1 year, like, functionally, what's the top 3 things 3 years out in sales or marketing, or we create objectives functionally, and then we do it on an annual basis too. Now that team and that leader of sales or whatever it is can also say, "Do I have the right team members to help us get to that 3-year or that 1 year?" So you can use the same format in each of the functional or divisional areas as teams get bigger. Um, but I think going back to the main piece of the equation is like that's the art of scaling. You have to understand,
Right.
set a vision, alignment, focus. Do I have the right people? And then execute and communicate
Yep.
on that cadence. So
Yeah.
that's how
That
I
makes
see it.
sense. Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
wrote this book.
Right. Right. Yes.
because
Yeah, all the great stuff. Yeah.
well, I think it's funny because or not funny, but, like, I've always been very nerdy about entrepreneurship, and I also had a dad that was a entrepreneur, and on both sides of my family or founders and entrepreneurs. But I saw those same challenges in their
Mhm.
businesses, and then
Sure.
as I studied entrepreneurship and I got into the whole tech world, it's the same problem. It's the same problem, that
Yep.
most of these businesses have, and that's trying to understand how to scale, which they all wanna do.
Yep.
And there's just some simple low-hanging fruit things that people can do that can make it so much easier on them. And if they don't
Sure.
learn that, that's where they struggle.